Here's quite a grand project, just finished up. This is a conversion. This is a 3-row, 2-voice Hohner. Started out as an F, B flat, E flat, and now it's been converted to DGC, where the GC is like a normal GC and the D is lower than that. So it's a very low low-pitched instrument. I think it's the lowest pitched one that Hohner ever made, as far as I know. Anyway, I actually had a from the factory DGC, quite rare. You can look at if you search videos in my channel for number 65, it was another Hohner, same style, 16 bass, same era, and that was DGC right out of the factory. So this has been sort of converted to that. So it needed a lot of donor reeds. I had to do quite a bit of work to the reed blocks to make them fit, particularly the D row, which were mostly longer than standard reeds, even G reeds. So in order to fit them, I had to do several things. If the plates were longer than the original, then I had to enlarge the cavity on the reed plate. And sometimes I was able to just take well, I use a vertical milling machine with a very small diameter cutter, and I'm able to then carve the top side of the cavity out so that it's a little bit longer. Likewise, I found that on the D row there were 5 contiguous cavities that needed really longer plates. So I have used a customized keyhole cutter on the milling machine, and I've got photos of these, both the little end mill and the keyhole cutter. And that I cut a groove into that into the base plate on the reed block, allowing those reeds to fit a little bit lower. So between enlarging it on the top end and making a groove on the bottom end, I could fit those oversized reeds in there. There were some cases where on all 3, the big large bass reeds block, the chord reed block, and the treble reed blocks, where the new reeds were narrower than the original, so now they would just sort of fall into the cavity. So in those cases I had to glue some shims in there to make the width a little bit narrower on some of the cavities. And again, I've got photos for all of those. What else? Of course, I had to clean all the reeds and revalve them. I did use modern plastic valves on the treble and the composite valves on the large bass reeds. And what else? I was able to, this originally had the leather and screw and pin style attachment of the reed plates to the reed blocks. I was able to retain that on the basses and chords. On the trebles, since there was so much enlarging and everything, it actually made much more sense just to wax it, convert that to wax. So that's what I did. Let's see, what else? Several of the reed blocks were not flat on the bottom, so they had a little arch or a twist to them. So I took them over to my sanding table and flattened them out. What else? I did find there was one button that was sticking. I had to fix that, and another one had gotten knocked off. These are all originally a little screw and screw holding these on, but the one that was knocked off, was clear that it had been just glued back on, because if it had been lined up with the original screw hole, it would have been rubbing on that side. So probably somebody else took it off in the past, moved it over and glued it, you know, more central to the hole. So I just did the same. It's instead of trying to extract the broken piece of brass out of the screw and tap a new hole. So that should still be work fine. What else? I did add a new grill cloth here on the front side. The back seems pretty fine. And I did add an anti-resonance crossbar on the treble blocks. You can see that in a photo I have. Particularly with these low-pitched reeds, there were some that have this undesirable wah-wah effect if you don't sort of keep those reed blocks from vibrating on their own. So you tie them together with a bar across 3, and it really virtually eliminates all of that. I tuned this, you know, pretty standard Hohner. It's about 1 hertz on the lowest notes, up to I think 7 hertz on the very high notes. So that's how the treble side was tuned. The bass side was strewn, you know, right on pitch. This isn't a, since the reeds were coming from different instruments and there was no common reference frequency, I just used the modern A440, so the entire instrument is tuned there. Viennese style tuning here, where it's plus and minus on the treble side, and on the bass side, I did sweeten up the chords a little and flatted the thirds. Very sweet sounding instrument, and I do love the low pitch that it has. Hohner in D, G, and C, 2-voice instrument. I believe this is a model 499. In marvelous condition. The bellows are in great shape, almost no wear on them.